Well, good news as we head into the month of April. Fuel prices are expected to fall between 2 and 9%, with LPG expected to see the biggest decline. That's according to the Institute for Energy Security. It is attributing this to the fall in prices of crude oil on the global market generally, and also on the city stability. Nana Mwesi VII is Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Security. He has been speaking to Joy Business.
Fuel consumers must expect another round of fuel price drops in the coming days. The imminent price drops is a reflection of happenings on the world fuel market over the past 2 weeks, which shows declines in prices of gasoline, gas oil, liquefied petroleum gas, and some other finished products. Over the period under assessment, the Ghana cedi also posted some stability against the dollar, another positive indication for motorists. So, on account of declines in world fuel prices over the last 14 days, and to some extent the cedi stability against the greenback, Ghanaians can expect some relief from the high fuel prices recorded in the past 6 months. Households that rely on LPG will be the most beneficiaries, as the commodity may post a hefty drop in price in the coming days.
Well, meantime, the Bank of Ghana has reduced significantly the amount of dollars it advances to bulk oil distributors to finance fuel imports for the second quarter of this year. What is influencing this decision by the central bank, and should we be worried? Here's more in this report.
New data from the Bank of Ghana shows that for the second quarter of this year, the central bank is advancing $120 million to the bulk oil distributors. This is to help them with the required dollars to finance the importation of finished petroleum products. The data showed that this actually represents about $230 million reduction from what is sold from the distributors from April to June last year. According to the Bank of Ghana, the move can be linked to the benefits of the Gold for Oil program, which has reduced drastically the amount of dollars that these bulk distributors will need to finance fuel import. Officials of the bank have told Joy Business that it is one of these reasons that has helped to improve its international reserves despite the current challenges facing the economy. This has gone a long way to help in stabilizing the Ghana cedi. The country's dollar reserves ending February this year stood at almost $6 billion, representing 2.8 months of import cover.
All right, energy strategist Dr. Isi Suleimanu joins us to discuss the latest developments with regards to fuel. Let's start with our first story, which has to do with fuel prices expected to go down between 2 and 9% from April. Are you anticipating that as well?
Thank you very much, Daryl, and good afternoon to you and your cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Yeah, sure. It's a certainty that that is likely, or most likely, is going to happen. Because if you look at the parameters that go into the fuel price build-up and the factors that could potentially keep fuel prices up and down, you can clearly see that this time around, quite a number of the factors are working to the favor of low pump prices, or to the favor of the consumer. And what are they? Of course, we've seen relatively stable cedi. Of course, though we would have wished that it should have been appreciated some time. I mean, looking at what we were told with respect to this gold to oil, albeit it is still okay, it is stable. And so with the stable cedi, and then the most driver in this case, I think, is the international dynamics. These commodity prices have dropped. In fact, a week ago, we had a collapse, a phenomenal collapse of the market, where crude oil and some of the related petroleum products, especially gasoline, dropped significantly. So if those drops were to hold and we enter into the next window, I believe we will have much more drop at the pumps. Yeah. So yes, dynamics are working to the favor of both the international dynamics and the stability of the cedi. These two main factors, I think, will contribute to the lower prices at the pump coming the next window.
Well, meantime, we're hearing that the central bank has reduced significantly the amount of dollars as advancing to bulk oil distributors to support the import of fuel. What do you make of this news? What are the implications?
Yeah, so the implication there is one of a mixed bag, depending on how they balance it. The problem is gold for oil, we are told, is not able to satisfy 100%. And so they have to make concerted effort to make sure that whatever the shortfalls are, the remaining BDCs are able to get the required capital, and the required dollars at competitive rates, to be able to import the product to cover the deficit. So the challenge I see here is the rate differentials, the differences in rate. What rate are we using for gold for oil? Those who buy gold for oil, what rate are we using for them? And also, what rate are we using for, those guys who will come up to get the auction to, to import this finished product? If we have differentials in this rate, then definitely we're going to have, a distortion in the pricing. But if we are sure that we play our cards well, that we know with great certainty that whatever the gold for oil cannot cover, we should be able to advance the required, capital. The required hard currency, in this case, the greenback, the dollar, to be able to, make up for the deficit. So yes, if the government can balance that differentials, which I think is going to be tricky, and they need to trade cautiously. They need to trade with caution. If they can balance that, why not? I think we'll have a positive. But if they cannot, then it will likely bring some market distortions in terms of the pricing.
Okay, over the past 2 weeks, we've seen the price of crude oil hover around $70 or a little above that a barrel. And well, this story we're reading right now to do with Silicon Valley Bank collapse. There's an attribution to the reason why oil prices are going down, saying that the collapse of the bank is the reason why we are seeing oil prices crash, because there's a flight of investors who are now putting their monies in gold. Explain to us what is happening and why that is causing the energy market to suffer.
Yeah, so that's a good one. Gold is a commodity, just like crude oil and other petroleum products. And so commodity trading triumph, under the space of, peaceful atmosphere, under the space of, trust and confidence. And if you look at what happened over the last week, the phenomenal collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, followed by Signature Bank. In fact, two banks collapsed alongside. And there was just a likelihood that there could be trade-offs or there could be spillover into other banks. You've heard of other banks like Credit Suisse and other, some other banks in the US. They were all meant to go down of a sort. And so if a market is going like that, the trust would dwindle drastically. And investors will always put their money where there is stability. And so what likely happened over the week, over those weeks, there is so much loss of confidence in the investor community with respect to the banking system, and that hasn't returned yet. Though it is gradually coming back, but it doesn't return yet. So if that happens, investors will likely shift their investment into a safer haven, or a safe haven. In this case, gold has always been one of the commodities that hasn't experienced any volatility that much with respect to volatility in other commodities like crude oil. Yes, so if you notice, as petroleum products and crude oil prices were dropping drastically, gold was appreciating, telling you that this commodity, they are shifting the capital from where we have this anarchy or pandemonium or disturbance, where capital doesn't like, or where investment will not like it, and then they are shifting it back to a much more stable environment, in this case, which is gold. And historically, gold hasn't experienced volatility. If you check, gold has been a stable commodity, and so it is almost likely that investment, if the confidence within the banking sector hasn't returned, then we'll likely see more investment going to the gold sector or other metal sector much more. And that's actually how come the gold appreciated. It appreciated to about 1,900. $1,000 ounces, $1,000 per ounce, and that's significant. And there's a chance that it could go to 2,000 if the banking sector still persists. But the good thing is that I think the confidence is returning back because of drastic interventions that have been put in place to regain that confidence. Of course, we had a lot of learnings from 2008, financial meltdown, and so most of the learnings are put here, where quickly central banks decide. They are beginning to pump so much money, so much liquidity into the struggling banks, and I think it's beginning to yield results. Because as we speak now, crude oil prices have started appreciating. In fact, we are in the upper 70s, and there's a potential that it could go back to the 80s once the confidence within the financial sector, gain momentum.
And so, what does this mean for Ghana's Gold for Oil program? A positive or a negative?
Yeah, so it's again it's two ways. It could be positive and it could be negative. The positive connotation I'll start with is just that, assuming gold prices appreciate, and then we have the gold and we are going to take petroleum products. And bear in mind, gold prices are appreciating, petroleum products also, going down. So it means that with the same amount of gold that we have, we can get more petroleum products. That's simply what it means. And then also meaning that, our consumption hasn't gone up. We still have 350,000 that we consume per metric tons per month. So what it tells us that if you have a drastic appreciation of gold prices, then we could get more petroleum product with the same quantity of gold that we have. But the downside of it is the fact that, in commodity trade, especially butter trading, if the two commodities move along the same direction, let's say decrease along the same route or increase along the same dynamic, it is very easier to draw the correlation. But in this case, one is dropping and one is increasing. The players have to be strategic to take advantage. And in this case, I think we should have been piling up gold reserve at this moment in time. But I think with gold for oil policy, we're going to deplete our reserves. No two ways about that. And so I thought probably we should have been piling our reserves. So the downside that I see is that whilst the commodity gold has always been, the safe haven and gaining momentum, instead of us to store the gold, we are rather using it to exchange for petroleum product, which is a short-term intervention, I think. So that is the downside of it, Daryl, I can say. But of course, the positive side is there, and this is also the negative side. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Isi Sulemana, thanks as always for your insights into energy matters. Appreciate your time with us. You're watching The Marketplace. Now, let's move on to other stories for you. The Bank of Ghana says it will strictly enforce a zero financing of government's budget for this year. That's if it secures approval from the Finance Ministry and Parliament in the coming weeks. Now, there are some concerns that the current form of the law before Parliament, or the bill before Parliament, could come with some immediate shocks to the economy. But Joy Business's George Riafe has been speaking with Director of Research at the Bank of Ghana, who disagrees with this.
What the domestic debt exchange is doing is that it's taking away some stimulus from the economy. It's taking away some demand from the economy. And of course, that demand, which hitherto would have gone to the forex market, is not there. George, also think about it this way. Interest payment, external interest payment is collapsing because of the domestic debt exchange. So the demand for forex to service our debt has also sort of fizzled out. It's not there. That burden on the fiscal is not there. And therefore, when you put all these things together, it is even more appropriate for us to be setting the interest rate right, so as not to get economic agents sort of taking advantage of interest rate arbitrage and putting pressure on the currency. So yes, the currency has become stable for a variety of reasons. I mean, if you look at our imports from the BOP, they've gone down significantly. These are demand which hitherto would have come to the central bank to demand for forex. And we've made also certain adjustments to ensure that our BOP is free of excessive demand. So these are all the reasons why the currency is behaving the way it is behaving. What we need to do is, as we move along, we need to prudently pursue policies that will benefit us from on the exchange rate front, which will then spill over to inflation.
Well, next, Development Bank Ghana says it is taking steps to roll out the partial credit guarantee product, which is to encourage financial institutions to invest in local ventures. Here's more from DBG UGBS Development Finance Series held in Accra.
Speaking at the DBG UGBS Development Finance Series on the theme, Deepening Development Finance Knowledge, Innovations and Impact, Deputy Chief Executive of the Development Bank of Ghana, Michael Mensah-Ban, said procedures are underway to roll out the partial credit guarantee product for commercial banks.
So one of the things that we intend to do is that although DBG has access to low funding or low cost funding, we don't intend to use only our funding to intervene in the market. We want to encourage also the PFIs or the banks to also use their own funding to invest. And one way of doing that is to share the risk of the investment with them. So the partial credit guarantee product allows the banks to invest in certain risky areas such as agribusiness and allow them to share the risk with us. And by so doing, the banks themselves would use their own funding. And together, using our funding and using the bank's funding, we'll be able to make a much more significant impact.
Already, the Development Bank of Ghana has announced its interest to bridge the financial gap facing the agricultural sector in the country. Touching more on this intent, Mr. Mensah-Ban said his outfit has invested 300 million cedis into agribusiness, manufacturing and tourism.
Since we launched last year, we have actually invested in the agribusiness, manufacturing and tourism up to 300 million cedis. We intend to invest 500 million cedis into 4 key commodities. That's the soya bean, maize, rice and poultry. And the reason for that is that we believe that by so doing, if the investment in those commodities are successful, this will enhance food security in Ghana.
Reacting to the introduction of a guaranteed product, the managing director of CBG, Daryl, considered it as a very thoughtful step. He explained that the policy would bring about risk sharing, therefore commercial banks would unlock their liquidity when investing.
Absolutely, it unlocks a lot of funding. You see, there's the different ways of providing finance, like I said. So you can either do direct lending or the partial credit guarantee that they're doing. That partial credit guarantee, again, speaks to something I said about when I spoke, and it's about sharing the risk with the PFI, right? So that guarantee from DBG then allows me to unlock liquidity. He sort of covered my credit risk to some extent, sharing credit risk with me, right? And so it allows me to go out and lend more, much more than I normally will if I was worried about credit risk.
DBG has in the meantime signed an MOU with the University of Ghana Business School to gather evidence-based research on the core issues the country faces and explore tailor-made solutions to address them.
Next, the African Center for Energy Policy, ASAP, and the University of Energy and Natural Resources have signed an MOU which will see them collaborate to help address challenges with climate change and energy security. Now, Executive Director of ASAP, Benjamin Boache, said the collaboration will promote sustainable energy. Here's more in this report.
Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy, ASAP, Benjamin Boache, the MOU will afford both institutions an opportunity to address most of the pressing issues facing the continent in achieving energy sufficiency through the development of detailed and vast research data.
We have seen what UNER is doing, a very progressive institution, even though fairly new compared to universities that we have in our country. But they are distinct in the sense that they are doing progressive things. They're also interested in generating ideas, generating technological solutions to address problems. And that is what attracts them to ASAP, for us to be part of that environment where we are keen to address the problem, not just that confronts Ghana, but the rest of the world.
On his part, Vice Chancellor of the University of Energy and Natural Resources, Professor Elvis Asari Bidiako said the partnership will afford the university achieve greater impact through the share of knowledge and expertise.
And you're watching The Marketplace. Time to talk tech. Interesting developments to do with Twitter. I'm joined by a host of Geek Squad on Joy FM, also a tech expert, Kobe Spike in Nkrumah, to discuss issues to do with Twitter Blue feature, the paid Twitter Blue feature, and news that Twitter boss Elon Musk has announced a shakeup of the feature. From the 15th of April, only verified subscribers will have posts recommended to other users and be allowed to vote in polls. Well, here to explain further, Kobe Spike in Nkrumah. Good afternoon to you, Kobe. So what is running through the mind of Elon Musk? What are these changes and to what end?
So Elon Musk wants to get rid of bots and automated users on Twitter. And, you know, it's one of the things that he was complaining about on Twitter, saying that that's why he wanted them to drop the price, because he, according to him, there was a problem with bots, and bots are not real users, you know, like robots or people creating many fake accounts just to skew the conversation in a certain way or the other. And his solution now, since he owns Twitter, is that the way to ensure that people are who they say they are is when people pay to use the platform. Okay, so fine, he's been pushing this now. Some people are paying, some people aren't paying. And there's been a problem of people paying for fake accounts. So you see that when he tweeted that from April 15th, all users of the platform who do not have a subscription of Twitter Blue will not be able to vote in polls. That's one. And then two, you will not be able to you will only see Twitter Blue subscribers in your For You. Now, if you know your For You, like if you go to Twitter, your homepage, you have For You. That's recommended tweets that Twitter deems you would like to see, and tweets from only people you're following. So there's two tabs, For You and Following. So right now, For You would only show people who are verified, i.e. people who have blue ticks, not necessarily people who are, you know, celebrities or people who are even actual people of influence. Now, blue ticks can be bought, so you don't even have to be a person of influence to have it. And he's saying that this is in order to weed out the bots, since it would be too expensive for somebody to pay for Twitter Blue for all their bots. So assuming I have a bot farm, I would have to pay for Twitter Blue for all the Twitter bots that I have on my farm. So if there are 1,000 Twitter fake accounts that I have to pay $7 a month each for every one of those bots on the farm, which sort of makes sense, because that means I am paying $7,000 just to have my bots operate and to skew conversations in a certain way. The question is, will that really work?
Well, I guess that's a question. I understand that he wants to get rid of bots. I'm just trying to understand the business sense in all of this, and seeing that there's also backlash from users. You are potentially losing people who would on a normal day trip to Twitter to, you know, do their stuff.
Yeah. So for business-wise, you know, Twitter hasn't been a profitable business even before Elon Musk bought it. It's always been making losses, and the whole reason being that Twitter is quite fleeting. You know, all the messages come, they go, and sponsors or advertisers who put their content on Twitter want a safe space. They want a space where they're guaranteed that the users are going to see content that will, you know, resonate with them, and thereby also seeing their ads. So, for instance, a brand, you wouldn't want your brand to be positioned next to content that's something that you don't stand for. So that's always been the challenge. And now Elon Musk is saying that he's assuring them of a lot of, you know, free speech, which also is worrying. And there's also the challenge that people would leave the platform, because I don't see why I should pay $7 for a Twitter Blue subscription if all I'm doing is come and retweet, and also once in a while tweet. So if there is a worthy option or a worthy competitor, I honestly think that Twitter would be in very, very big trouble, because a lot of people will move. Because people are like, nobody wants to, not a lot of people want to pay this Twitter Blue subscription, because it really doesn't make any business sense for a user.
Yeah, because I also think it's overrated, whether it's paid Twitter Blue or not. I really don't get the fixation with that. But for our Ghanaian audience watching, should they be concerned about what's happening with Twitter and the blue ticks and all of that? I don't know.
Well, especially for the Ghanaian users, you know that there's been a misconception that Twitter users are the middle class to upper class, so they should be able to afford $7 a month. But I mean, let's do the math. $7 should be somewhere around 84 Ghana cedis a month. Who's going to multiply that by 12? You're already hitting almost 1,000 Ghana cedis every year just to be on a social media platform. I'm not paying for Twitter. I'm not paying for Instagram. I'm not paying for Facebook. I'm not paying for WhatsApp. I'm not paying for Telegram. Why should I pay for Twitter? What's the unique selling point? Mind you, people are even enjoying TikTok and all these other platforms more. There has to be a unique selling point, a unique value proposition that's going to convince the average user to spend almost 1,000 Ghana cedis a year. Because mind you, you have to pay, if you want to pay $7, you have to pay for the whole year. If you don't want to pay for the whole year, you have to pay $8 a month.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. We have to leave it here. Thank you so much. Great speaking with you, Kobe Spike Nkrumah, host of Geek Squad on Joy FM, also a tech expert. Appreciate your time. And that's the marketplace, everyone. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. You see more on our top story to do with fuel prices falling between 2% and 9% from the 1st of April. My name is Daryl. We will be back same time tomorrow.